something like this regularly, you run across the groups of people that always have a scapegoat. And for a long time, that scapegoat has been the Jews. Oh, it's Netanyahu. It's the Jews. It's this. It's always the Jews, right? The Jews did this. The Jews did that. The Jews killed Charlie Kirk. The Jews tried to assassinate Trump. The Jews killed JFK. It's always the Jews, right? I think there's a bigger threat, though. I don't think the Jews are as big of a threat as everyone thinks. As a country the size of New Jersey, I think the Jews, Israel in specific, is a problem. I don't think the Jews are this all controlling, all knowing threat that we should be worried about 24/7. I think we have a much bigger issue, and it's the issue from within. And that issue is actually two issues. There's Islam. Islam is a big problem. And leftism. Between Islam and leftism, I don't think there's a need for the Jews to be the bad guy. Okay, a lot of people will say, oh, Charlie Kirk was killed by the Jews. No, Charlie Kirk was killed by an insane leftist. And when you look at countries like the United Kingdom has all but been taken over by Muslims. It's become a Muslim country. The United States is a Christian nation. Whether you like it or not, we were founded on Judeo-Christian values. This is a Christian nation at the end of the day. But there's always that looming, what's the Jews, though? The Jews did this. The Jews, always the Jews. What I've found, though, and this is just an observation I've made, the Muslims come to a country, and the Muslim attitude is, I don't like that you do that, so I'm going to change your country to fit my needs, which is, quite honestly, it's conqueror mentality. I don't like the way you do things, so I'm going to kill you if you keep doing that. It's conqueror mentality. I'm going to make your country mine. I'm going to make your country what I want it to be. It's why we failed in the Middle East, because we weren't willing to conquer. We were trying to win hearts and minds, and we didn't do that very well. The objective of our time in the Middle East was nation building. We wanted to create democracy in a country that doesn't let women vote, that doesn't let women read, let alone vote. And what did we do? We created enemies. We created lots of enemies. Do I think Benjamin Netanyahu's war hawkish nature is an issue? Well, of course I do. Do I think Benjamin Netanyahu's willingness to say, you won't touch me, I'm friends with America, and America will kick your ass, do I think that's an issue? Of course I do. I think that's a huge problem, and I think we as a nation need to tell Benjamin Netanyahu to hit the bricks. But I think the generations of young Muslim men that saw their fathers die by men wearing the American flag on their shoulder, by men wearing an American flag on their chest, the young boys that saw their children shot down in their own homes, the men that you would have done the same thing of had you been in their position. Their children grew up and remembered this, and they bred a hatred. They bred a hatred for the West. That's part of their religion. They bred a hatred for the West that is in their hearts and souls because the West killed my father. I will destroy them. And this is a story that's repeated time and time again, over and over and over again. Now we have countries like the UK that are just about completely taken over by Islam. There is an insane amount of Muslims in the UK now. It is becoming a Muslim majority country. Now, the UK is a relatively small country. It didn't take them very long to take it over, though. There are cities in the United States where they are trying to make Muslim-only police forces that just go around and enforce Muslim laws. I think it was Detroit that had this. These cities are essentially allowing foreign operators to act as law enforcement for the beliefs of the foreign operators. We've got a bigger threat on our hands than the Jews Okay, Benjamin Netanyahu can't do much to us. We can flatten Israel with like two good bombs. Like Israel's not a huge threat. What is a huge threat is all the people we've let across our border during the Biden administration. We don't know who they are. We don't know what their affiliations are. A lot of them are Somalians. A lot of them are Muslims. A lot of them are there's a good handful of Hispanics, but most of them were Chinese, Muslims, and Somalians. Now, Somalians are a problem all on their own. That's a whole different issue. When you look at someone like Ilhan Omar who says, I'm here to represent Somalia. No, you're here to represent Minnesota. If you're not going to represent Minnesota, you can go bye-bye and you don't have a job anymore. We're going to vote you out. However, Minnesota refuses to vote Ilhan Omar out of office, and I don't know why. Well, I do know why. It's because that's where all the Somalians went. Minnesota, we've lost Minnesota to the Somalians. We've lost Detroit to the Muslims. We've lost New York and California to the radical leftists. Not a single one of these groups are Jewish. Not a single one of these groups are, oh, the Jews control everything. That's not who they are. It's Muslims, it's Somalians, and it's extreme leftists. We've lost Virginia to insane leftism with these gun laws that have come out. You think there's not more insane leftism coming after the gun laws? Of course, we have to. The first thing we have to do is take the guns. I believe it was Hitler who said the first thing you should do when you try to conquer a group of people is take away their firearms. I'm paraphrasing. That's not the exact quote. I forget the exact quote. I used to know it, but the paraphrased version is the first thing you should do if you're trying to take over a group of people is take their guns away. People like Hitler have done that throughout history. We disarm people. Look at how the Romans treated the Carthaginians. They took their navy, they took their armies. They said, no, you can't have weapons. We don't trust you. No, you can't have a navy. We don't trust you. No, you can't have an army. We don't trust you. You can't even go to war to defend yourself without my permission. It takes you a month and a half to sail to Rome, to ask for permission to fight the people that are breaking down your front door. And then you have to sail a month and a half back. It's been 3 months by the time you get back to Carthage. There is no more Carthage. And the reason was simple. I don't really like the way that guy over there looks. I don't like that guy. So we're going to make that guy's life difficult. And it's the same problem we see now, where the Muslims look at the Christians and the people in America in general, and they go, I don't really like that. They eat pork. I'm not a big fan of people that eat pork. So let's just kill them. Just fucking get rid of them. Just kill them. It's easier that way, right? Of course it's easier that way. Why wouldn't it be easier that way? If you have a problem and your options are live with it or just completely get rid of it is always the easier option, right? If you have a rat infestation in your house, you're not just going to kill the big rat and leave the rest of the little rats. You're going to kill all the rats. That's the way these Muslims look at Americans. That's the way these leftists look at people on the right. That's the way these Somalians look at conservatives. The Somalians don't like you. Why would they? I think when we look at this country, we have a sweeping variety of problems. One of, if not the biggest problem we have, is the hatred that we have brewed into Muslims. Now, Islam was already a violent religion. Islam already called for the death and destruction of the Western world. Islam calls for the death of anyone who's not Muslim. You'll never catch me bowing to Allah. Okay? I will never. Do your worst. I'm a proud Christian. Not good at it. I say it all the time. I'm not good at it. I do. It seems like I screw up being a Christian more than I get it right. But at the end of the day, I still try to get it right. I still try to help people. I still try to do the right thing for people. I try. And I believe that trying means more than Oh well, I did it right, but I never took a risk. I did it right, but I never actually helped anybody. I read the book and memorized it, but I never went out and helped people. I never talked to people in need. I never told people who were having a hard time in their life, maybe you should try reading this book. Maybe you should try talking to Jesus. Now, that's just my opinion, but I digress. That opinion alone is enough to get murdered by the Muslims that we allow to come here. It is a. Let me give you a hypothetical, okay? So, I'm a Christian. I have a cross tattooed on my arm, okay? So, we'll say I go to Detroit and I get pulled over by one of these Muslim cops. Who's to say this dude doesn't just pull out his gun and smoke me right then and there? Because his religion demands it. His religion demands that Christians be eradicated. Who's to say I go to Detroit and I don't get pulled over by this Muslim cop and get eradicated? The Jews at least don't call for the eradication of the Christians, at least not as openly as the Muslims do. The Muslims do not care. You know, the Russians even have said that America is a country full of debauchery, so to speak. I don't remember the exact word they used, but debauchery works, and that we deserve to be destroyed for it. And I kind of wonder if they're right. Have we gotten to the point where that's all we are? There are countries that hate us because all we do is export perversions to them. Yeah, the Middle East really hates us because what do we export? We export movies. What are our movies full of? Fucking half naked women having loose sex with men they barely know. Look at any James Bond movie. That's literally half the premise of the movie is Bond having sex with some chick that he just met. To a Muslim, that's appalling. To a Christian, even, that's like, oh my God, why is he doing that? But at the end of the day, the Muslims are like, this is just another reason we should destroy them. Somalians don't have TV, so that's not a problem. The Jews don't care because the movie makes money. I would argue all these people, these conspiracy theorists, they all say the Jews are the problem. No. The Jews are a problem, specifically Israel, not necessarily the greedy guy down the street that goes to the synagogue and drives a Cadillac. That guy might not be the problem. Okay, that guy might just be a Jew. He's just a Jewy Jew out Jewing, right? However, Benjamin Netanyahu is a problem. Israel is a problem. The Holy Land, that's an issue. That's an issue we need to deal with sooner or later. The the war hawkish nature of Israel is an issue. Do I think that Ben Shapiro is an issue? Maybe a little bit, but can he really do that much? I mean, yeah, Ben Shapiro is on Benjamin Netanyahu's dick a lot. Like he really likes the guy, but I don't think at the end of the day Ben Shapiro isn't openly influencing our politicians, our elected officials. Benjamin Netanyahu is. Benjamin Netanyahu can convince Donald Trump to go to war preemptively because, well, I'm going to go, so you better come with me. But I don't think that's the biggest problem. I think the biggest problem is the threat from within. We let millions of people into this country. We don't know who they are. There's known terror sleeper cells in every major city. We don't know what their goal is. We don't know what their objective is. We do know who runs them. And it's not the guys with the tiny little hats. It's not those guys. It's the dudes with the big obnoxious towels up there. I think Islam is the biggest threat to this country. I think leftism is the second biggest threat. And I think you could actually invert the two because leftism allows Islam. If we had a bunch of Christians in these countries that would come out and say, or in these cities, I mean, that would come out and say, yeah, no, I'm a Christian and you're not doing that here. you can leave, we wouldn't have these problems. So I would argue that Islam and leftism are equally dangerous. However, Islam is easier to get rid of than leftism. So if we can make a step in the right direction, right? I believe Islam is a direct threat to the United States. I think it's a national security threat, and I think that we should look into banning Islam. Now, there's a problem there. We have the First Amendment. You can't ban Islam because we have the First Amendment. Can't ban a religion. Do we make an exemption for when a religion becomes a national security threat? Well, then, when the Democrats are in power, they'll say, well, these Christian nationalists are a national security threat. We need to ban Christianity. We're going to create underground, we'll create underground Muslim groups. They'll say, no, we're not Muslim. And then they'll go to their secret meetings where they'll do Muslim things still. I don't know what Muslims do. I just assume they all sit around going, I hate America. That's what I assume. And then someone clacks off an S-vest and blows the whole fucking building up. It's just, I don't know what they do. I know that I find their religion abhorrent. And I don't know how many Muslims come here and they're like, yeah, I'm not one of those guys. Those guys are crazy. And I don't know how many of them come here and they're like, I am here to destroy this nation. I don't know. And that's the problem is the groups of I'm here to destroy this nation are a national security threat, obviously. I think there needs to be a discussion about banning Islam, or at least a temporary removal of Islam. I don't know how we do that with the First Amendment. I don't know if we can do that with the First Amendment. This is exactly why the First Amendment exists, by the way. It is the exact point of the First Amendment is to stop this situation from happening. So the question becomes, is this a hill we die on? Is this a fight worth fighting to ban Islam in the United States? Because when the Democrats get in power, they can turn around and ban Christianity, or they could ban Judaism or Buddhism or whatever. They could ban any religion on the same basis that we use to ban Islam. So do I think we can ban Islam? I don't think we can. I think the answer is to make America such a densely Christian populated nation that the Muslims are afraid to come here because there's too many Christians. It's not worth coming here because the risk is too high. The risk is too high that you might run into Christians. Right now they come here because, well, nobody's willing to admit that they're Christian. If they are, atheism's the cool thing. Oh, you're a Christian? You nerd. I'm an atheist. I'm edgy. Look at me. I wear Hot Topic shoes. So yeah, you're not edgy, bro. You're just kind of a fucking idiot, honestly. And then they sit there and preach about how, oh, Christians are so bad. Look at my opinion on Twitter. And it's like, yeah, no one cares about your opinion on Twitter, bud. You're wrong. Just straight up, you're wrong. Your opinion's trash. You don't know what you're talking about. You're wrong. I digress. I don't know how we fix these problems. I think that Jews are at the bottom of the list, though. I think Israel's an issue. Don't get me wrong. Israel's a problem. I don't think Israel is the problem. I think a bigger problem is Ilhan Omar being willing to commit fraud on behalf of Somalia. I think that's a much bigger problem than Benjamin Netanyahu starting a war. I mean, am I happy that Netanyahu started a war? No. Kind of pisses me off a lot. It's really irksome. Not a big fan. 2 out of 10, don't recommend. However, I think Ilhan Omar is a bigger threat than Benjamin Netanyahu is. I think the Muslim sleeper cells that we don't know where they are bigger threats than Benjamin Netanyahu. I think we have terror cells in every major city, and we don't know who they are, why they're here, or what their goals are. And I think that's a bigger threat than whatever Netanyahu's going to do tomorrow. I mean, the only thing Netanyahu could do that's actually a serious threat is drop a nuke on somebody. There's a serious threat there. But other than that, I don't think the likelihood that he's going to is very low. And I don't think that I don't think America would let him. I think if he was like, I'm going to drop the bomb, Trump would be like, if you drop a nuke, I swear to God, I will wipe you off the face of the earth. I think Trump would turn on Netanyahu ridiculously fast in that situation. This is just something that's been on my mind. I just wanted to yap about it, though. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts. So drop a comment, and I will try to respond to them. I always try to respond to them. But yeah, I think that's where we're at. Yeah, I heard about this article. Muslim dude stabbed a white guy in the UK. And the UK is so woke now that they arrested the white guy for getting stabbed. That's where we're heading. Especially in like Detroit where they have like the Muslim police. Like that's where we're heading. So, good luck. I hope it's all worth it. I hope it all works out, but it probably won't. But anyway, that's all I got for you. I'll see y'all in the next one.